Today, we're going to talk about how to look younger. Now, if you tell people what to do without the why to do it, a lot of times they won't do it. So today, I'm going to go into the why as well as what to do. This information is good for new people as well as those people who have been watching my channel for quite some time. So to look younger on the outside, you really have to be younger on the inside. Now, and when we're dealing with a youthful look, we're dealing with targeting the accumulation of damaged proteins, okay? So the more damaged proteins you have internally and externally, the older you're going to look. And so I'm going to talk about a lot of different parts of this puzzle, but let's start with this term AGEs. What is AGEs? It stands for Advanced Glycation End Products. Now, what the heck is that? That is a combination of a sugar molecule with a protein molecule. When you take sugar and protein and you heat them up, you end up with these AGEs. Okay, so basically proteins that are now damaged and unavailable, and they can create a lot of problems throughout the body, but they can also make you look really old. Now, AGEs could also be a combination of glucose and fat heated as well. So let me just kind of make this really simple. If you were to consume this thing called ice cream, for example, you're basically heating glucose, lactose, sugar with milk proteins, very high heats. Boy, you're just consuming a product that is just loaded with these AGEs. So ice cream would be a perfect combination of fat and sugar heated. Another one would be barbecued ribs, right? You take these ribs, protein, and you put all this sugar sauce on it and you heat it. And this is the product when someone consumes a barbecued ribs, they might notice about an hour later that their body is sluggish, they have a lot of sinus issues. And so this is why it's so important when you're making barbecued ribs, use a sauce that doesn't have sugar. Use spices like a dry rub that has no sugar, just spices and sea salt. Now, what about a soda? Yeah, when you have all this sugar and you have caramel coloring and you heat this soda, boy, you're not just going to get the consumption of these AGEs, but all the sugar in your body with the temperature of 98.6 is going to combine with your own blood proteins, for example, and other proteins and create all this damaged protein binding combinations. In fact, when you get your A1C tested, you're measuring the accumulation of excess glucose in your bloodstream over a period of 3 months. So when you get your A1C and it's high, it just tells us how much glycation is going on in your red blood cells. You need to be in the lower fives, not 6, 7, 8. I've had people had 11. All that means is they're exposing their blood to a lot of sugar, creating glycation, and that protein now is damaged, and it's going to clog a lot of things up. All right, now let's take a French fry, which is a starch, which is basically kind of all these glucose molecules stuck together. And then it also is deep fried in fat. Okay, so we have fat plus the starch. Deep fried equals a tremendous amount of AGEs. So if you want to look really old real fast, keep consuming fries. Then you have potato chips, right? Same deal, starch with some oil, deep fried. Not good. How about a donut, right? You have this deep fried donut. Boy, you have refined carbohydrate with probably like corn oil or soy oil or whatever type of oil they use. Oh my gosh, deadly. I remember going to the Kutztown Fair in Pennsylvania where they had deep fried ice cream, deep fried potatoes, and deep fried Oreos, deep fried everything. In fact, you don't see a lot of young people walking around on that fair. Now, what about a burger, right? Hamburger. Well, we have this meat with ketchup, and then we have a bun. Of course, you want to add fries to that and a Coke. Wow, you talk about AGEs on steroids. A perfect deadly combination to look older really quick. And then you have pretty much every combination of fast food that you would find in a fast food restaurant. You have Chinese food, you have Mexican food. These are all examples of AGEs, and these are things that make you older, and these are the things that you need to avoid. Okay, let's talk about how to get rid of AGEs from your body, okay? Well, there just so happens to be a condition called autophagy, which is like an oven that can cook and break down AGEs, damaged proteins, and old proteins, as in old skin cells, and it repurposes these proteins. So autophagy stands for auto, meaning self, phagy means eating. So your body is eating its own proteins in a way. It's repurposing and recycling old damaged proteins and making new ones. So autophagy is really good for AGEs. It's good for old wrinkled skin, and it's an essential condition to make you younger. And the biggest way to get into autophagy is through fasting, okay? Now, for those of you that are new to my channel, I would highly recommend starting with intermittent fasting. I put some links down below. But for those of you that have been watching my channel that are doing fasting already, let's say you're doing 2 meals a day. I would recommend going to 1 meal a day. That's called OMAD. Now, for those of you that are doing OMAD, I would recommend to do what's called dry OMAD. Now, what's dry OMAD? I'll be doing some videos on this topic, but dry fasting, which is basically not consuming any water as well as no food, creates a compounding effect. It's like 3 times as powerful. So if you're going to do dry OMAD, you would drink no water all day, except at night when you have that 1 meal. But a lot of people are doing dry fasting for more than just 1 day. They're doing it for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, up to 7 days or longer, because you can generate water from your fat cells. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that in this video, but it's very, 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 very powerful, but it's more advanced. And so I don't recommend it unless you've done regular water fasting for a period of time. But if you want to take it to the next level, you want to start doing dry fasting with OMAD. So I highly recommend, if you want youthful skin, to get a certain amount of sun, okay? But just make sure you don't go to the burning level. There's certain types of light frequencies or wavelengths, like infrared, that tend to buffer the damaging effect of UV light. And so the benefit of infrared wavelengths can be extremely beneficial to looking youthful, because it's going to generate a lot of melatonin. And if you haven't seen my video on that topic, I put it down below. But melatonin is not all about sleep. It's about being an antioxidant and getting rid of free radical damage. All of your cells can make melatonin. And so there's 2 types of melatonin, one for sleep, one for antioxidants. And one way to generate that is through sunlight. You just want to make sure you don't overdo it. But regular exposure to sun is extremely beneficial to looking younger. And that's one of the problems in the winter when you can't get sun. You tend to look a bit older and pasty, and you don't have that youthful glow. Now, let's talk about environment, okay? Your environment is just filled with chemicals, poisons, drugs. I mean, it's just really hard to avoid that. Thank goodness we have our liver that can dismantle these poisons, okay? It can dismantle heavy metals. It can dismantle pesticides and insecticides, pollution, chemicals in the water, chemicals in the food. And that's called phase 1, phase 2 detoxification, okay? And so your liver has certain enzymes that can be boosted with certain foods to help get rid of poisons. So a really important part of looking youthful is having a healthy liver. If your liver is cirrhotic, or filled with cirrhosis, scar tissue, or it's filled with fat, or it's inflamed, you're going to look old. So anything you can do to strengthen the liver is going to make you look younger. And there's a couple things I'm going to just mention right now. Cruciferous vegetables, okay? They have certain phytonutrients that can boost your natural enzymes to help phase 1, phase 2 detoxification. Okay, so that's number 1. Not to mention vegetables giving you antioxidants directly to help act as a scavenger or like a sponge to clean up all this free radical damage that's occurring due to inflammation or chemicals or heavy metals etc. So as you add more